Okay, so before I start, I actually want to apologize for like my camera because it's gonna be shaking because I don't have like a stand or anything. It's my phone camera, so yeah. Yeah, I also want to say a few more things. First of all, uh, I'm going to explain a little bit about really quick about my video scheduling because I want to upload a video once a week, but lately the last two videos I uploaded are like 2 weeks apart, and the reason for that is because the weekend that I wanted to upload my last video, like my phone, like I'm using my phone to film, so like I have a Power Director, like the app, and it wasn't working. It would not upload videos, and it was some bull crap about like the how long the video is, like 20 minutes long, and it's longer than normal and all that, and it just wouldn't work for some reason, even when I like authorized it with my YouTube account and stuff. I don't even know. It's just it was weird, and because of that, it delayed like my upload by like the next weekend because every day I'm trying to upload it and it's not working. So yeah, there's that. But I'm gonna make up for that with this video, which I think is I'm filming it at least 3 days after I uploaded my last video. And this is gonna be kind of like a makeup video. And then this weekend, the video is gonna be at like kind of like a town, like I don't want to call it. It's like a carnival ish. It's a festival. I don't know. It's like a town thing that is like every year. And this Saturday I'm gonna film it and I'm gonna upload it this Saturday night, maybe Sunday morning. Like I'm filming it this Saturday night, uploading it this Sunday morning. So yeah. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that really quickly. I just want to get it out of the way, and there's also what else? Um I think that was it actually. Yeah, that was it. Sorry for the space out. Um so yeah, this video is going to be about some random stuff in a way. It's kind of random in comparison to the other videos I've made because I mean, I'm reading this book on that's like it's a book I checked out from my school library that's like 100 essential philosophers, or 100 essential thinkers, you know. It's a philosophy like book. And each page is on a different each like 2 pages, right, is on a different philosopher. Like one has a picture of them like one of the pages and the other one is like all the words. So oh, I like that Carl Jung is in there too. It's awesome. But I like this book. I really like this book. I'm a huge nerd. And so I found this. There's this one philosopher. His name is Parma, Parmenides. I think it's Parmenides. I think it's Parmenides. I don't know. I think it's Greek. Is it Greek? I think it's a Greek name. I'm not entirely sure. But basically, from what I remember reading, and I mean this is very, I mean introverted intuition with me is like, I think if I've explained it already, it groups things together. So I mean, this is gonna be probably like not entirely wrong, just a really overly simplified way of explaining it. I don't know. Um, okay, but so I'm sorry, I'm so tired. I have to film these at night because I have 3 younger brothers. But anyway, so Parmenides' philosophy was that, I mean, his main thing from what I read is that you can't actually think of something if it doesn't exist. Like, you can't think of things that don't exist. And what it means by this, and I know this is kind of difficult to understand, right? But, I mean, you'd have to think about the definition of something that exists. So, like, I mean, if it exists in your mind, in this case, it still technically exists. So, like, if something is non-existent, right? I mean, if it's non-existent, like, there's nothing that's non-existent because it's non-existent. Like, there are things, right? Things are existent. Things exist, right? There are things you can think of that exist. There are things that in the real world that exist. This wall behind this door behind me, this exists. And I can picture that in my head, and that exists, right? This exists in reality as well. So, like, it's a thing. a thing exists. If you think, you can't think about things, you can't even picture it in your head if it doesn't exist. Because you have no way to comprehend something that doesn't exist. And that kind of goes into nature versus nurture. I'm connecting that in my head. So like when you're grown up and you're exposed to things, right? And like say you make up something in your head, you're referencing or you're taking parts of things in reality and kind of mashing them together in a sense. Um to make something that doesn't technically exist in reality but exists in your mind, and you're pulling things from reality. So like if you hadn't grown up in the home you grew up in, if you were just born and you grew up in like a white room your entire life and you knew language and stuff but you didn't really know anything about anything, you I mean from like think about that like in terms of would you be able to make something up at random, right, without pulling things from reality? Like I don't know how to explain it. There's a freaking moth in here. Get out. Well, there's like think a unicorn. It's a horse with a horn. A horn. There are horned animals in nature already, like with single horns. So you're just taking two concepts that exist in reality and mashing them together into one thing. So really, in a sense, those two separate things exist. You can't think of something that doesn't exist entirely. That you can't really come up with something at random in your head without pulling things like references from reality. Like I could say like I could picture in my head like a table with legs, like actual legs, like feet and stuff. But I'm pulling two different things from reality. Like obviously it doesn't exist in reality, but I'm pulling two separate things from reality. So like, that's kind of the point I'm making. But in order for that to work, you have to think like what constitutes existence. Do things exist in your head or in reality? And the whole thing I'm leading up to, this is related to personality. Like, because I was reading Carl Jung's book on psychological types. Like I'm still reading it. I haven't finished it, and I stopped reading it for a while, and I need to get back into reading it. But there's this one part that the language is kind of difficult to understand, but from what I can tell, what it said was that subjective things are not really any less valid than objective things. Like they're both valid, but subjective things are not valid in the objective world. Like the laws of subjective reality are not valid in objective reality, and the laws of objective reality are not really valid in subjective reality. And so I guess I don't think Jung actually said something like that. I think he said something along the lines of, that's what I pulled from it. But he said something along the lines of like, there's no way that you can actually communicate your thoughts effectively in the objective world because your thoughts are inherently subjective. So like, you can never concepts like the psychological types. He's not going to be able to communicate with 100% accuracy, because everybody's. There's so much interpretation involved. There's so much subjective interpretation involved with all of these things that, like, with this whole personality, like psychological types thing. There's just so much you have to. There's so much in subjective interpretation. Like, I put up a video of my definitions, which I'll admit constantly are changing. My definition of the functions. I feel like I didn't explain it right at all, right? In that video, and I want to make a new one, but I don't want to just be repeating myself because I feel like that's what I'll end up doing. But yeah. So I'm mashing these two, like this fizzle. I almost said fizzleopher. I got that from a freaking a video that was some stupid thing. Okay, anyway, off topic. But philosophy, I'm pulling this philosophy and I'm mashing it together with personality, like Carl Jung's psychological types. And so I'm thinking like, okay, well, because this has been kind of a struggle for me in my head because I've like I didn't watch debates. I like read debates on YouTube comments, and I I sometimes argue them myself. And I also like, I mean, I watch a few YouTubers that, you know, I mean, that have these arguments that I think are really good, but they're really good arguments, but they're all based around objective evidence, and in debate setting, all subjective ideas and evidence are rejected and completely, right? So I've always kind of thought that to be subjective is bad and to be objective is good, but I'm highly introverted, so I mean my dominant function is inherently subjective. I mean, Jung defined introversion as being subjective and extroversion as being objective. That's basically it, and if I mean objective meaning like of the object or of the world, right? And subjective being like of the mind or of yourself. I don't know if it's of the mind, but it's more so just like of yourself, like the subject, you know? So like with this philosophy of subjective things existing, things in your mind, concepts like that existing just like things in objective reality exist. They just, take place in two different worlds, and the subjective laws can't really be applied in objective reality and vice versa. That's my whole thing. I pulled those two things together. I mashed them to kind of create one single. Yeah, that's introverted intuition. I created like one single perspective, kind of. I don't know if that's the best way I can define it. So yeah, I'm gonna just say it all again for a sec, so I know that I said everything I needed to say. Because I just don't feel like I'm done talking. Um, so to summarize, there's the objective world and the subjective world, right? Objective meaning of the world, and then subjective like objective being of the real world and subjective being of your world, your own world. Both are just as valid, but they're valid in different ways. The subjective world, the subjective reality, subjective interpretations of the world, right, are valid only to the subject, but they're not valid in the real objective reality, like the real objective world. Because, yeah. So, and objective reality, objective laws are not like valid. In a sense, they're not valid in subjective reality unless you make them valid. So if you have a subjective interpretation of something, then you're not going to be, then, you're not really applying the objective, laws to it. You're applying your own laws to it. So the objective reality, like laws, are not really valid in the subjective reality. So that's what I mean. I'm sorry I stopped and stuttered a little bit. My video randomly stopped and I had to I don't know. It was weird. But yeah. That's just what I wanted to say. This is kind of random. I don't really know what to call this video. But so yeah. Later, I guess. I don't know how to end videos. I still don't know how to end videos.